Hello and welcome to my world of stuff. My name is Paul Mount. If you are new here, you just stumbled across this channel because you like the thumbnail, why not like and subscribe? Leave a comment would be very nice, and stick around because there's all sorts of stuff on this channel. Reviews, unboxings, a lot of Doctor Who content coming up, film reviews, strips, all that sort of stuff, as you'll have seen from the credits. So why not stick around, won't you? Right, today is a slightly different video. As some of you who've been around for a while might know, I tend to do every month or so, or try to do, my physical media updates to new Blu-rays, 4Ks, etc. that I've picked up. I haven't actually picked up much the last few weeks, one or two bits. I've got a couple coming in the next week or so I will probably, adjust the camera first, I will probably do something in the next week or so, but there hasn't been a lot that I've been interested in, really. I have one or two, as I said, but I will do something in the next week or so if I do pick up anything more interesting. There's a couple on the way. What I'm doing today is a collectibles update. As again, those of you who watch the channel regularly will know, I often pick up collectible action figures and display pieces, various Daleks and other Doctor Who related things, Marvel and so on. I've got four things I'm going to show you today that I've picked up in the last few days, and I thought they will be interesting for you to have a look at what I've got. A lot of them I haven't taken out of their boxes yet. Just haven't got around to it. I'm not saying I'm going to do it here today, but I will just display them for you to have a little look at. Two of them are Doctor Who related, two of them are Marvel. So let's get on with it. The first one I've got, this is, well, I'll show you this boy. It's K9. It's Doctor Who's robot dog from the 1970s. As seen on TV. This is one of the models that I think Character Option did back in the Doctor Who reboot, when Doctor Who was back on TV, briefly in Doctor Who, and then the Sarah Jane Adventures. I think it was Character, I don't know, it's not boxed. This model came out of K9. Now, I wasn't a big fan of K9. I always thought it made Doctor Who increasingly childish, and that as an adult watching Doctor Who, you're always fighting its corner, saying, no, it's not a kids program, it's never been made by the kids department, it's a family program. And then they bring in a bloody robot dog in 1977. I understand why they did it. It was sort of, well, it wasn't in answer to Star Wars, because this was in preparation before Star Wars came out over here, but this was at the time when Doctor Who had been coming under a lot of pressure from the National Viewers and Listeners Association, led by Mary Whitehouse, to tone down its violence. It had become much more adult in the early Tom Baker days, and the BBC unfortunately caved into pressure, much as they do these days, and some changes were made to Doctor Who, and it was sort of toned down a little bit and made a bit more kiddie friendly. Hence K9, who appeared in 1977. He stuck around till Tom Baker's last season. Of course, he's reappeared since in modern Doctor Who, in School Reunion, and he's appeared often in the Sarah Jane Adventures. So he's an iconic creature. I understand that. He was very popular in his day. And I got one or two very small figures that came out in various other collections. Never really wanted a bigger size toy. I mean, this isn't life size, obviously. This is sort of, I don't know, half size or whatever it was. How did I come about this, you're asking? Well, Facebook Marketplace, of all places. Came across this last week. Somebody in the village up from me was selling this, and one of those Doctor Who micro figure collectors carry sets. I didn't bring that in with me. It's sort of a police box, and you open it up and it's got these little compartments for the little micro figures that came out, and there's some of the micro figures in there. I think it's the Doctor's in there. There's an Ood, a Sycorax, Sarah Jane. So yeah, nice little thing. The two of these together were £10 on Facebook Marketplace, and on the pictures they looked in good condition. You can see there's a little bit of pen mark or something on K9 there. He's got a couple of little grazes on him, but otherwise he's in sort of good condition, really. It's just a display piece. It'll be propped up somewhere in the cinema room probably. So yeah, for £10 I thought, well, I'll go and have a look, and yeah, it seems absolutely fine. It might have come, I know there is a battery compartment there. I'm going to put some batteries in later, but I suspect he's one of those ones that had a little handset, a remote control set, which didn't come with the thing. So I don't know if I'm going to see if I can find one on eBay. There doesn't seem to be any on-off switches on the casing of it, so I'm assuming it was a handset to it. But I might have a look, see if I can find one, or if anybody out there's got one and they don't want it, please let me know. So that's K9. Yes, I'm a man of a certain age. Right, that's K9. Let's put the doggy to one side. Thank you, doggy. The other Doctor Who figure. That was a nice shot. I went back to a B&M store in, I think it was in, Cardiff. I was in Cardiff last week, lunch appointment, and I popped into a local B&M, and of course B&M have got the latest figures, the Doctor Who sets that they're doing, the History of the Daleks and the Colin Baker and the TARDIS one. You may recall I did an unboxing of the Daleks a couple of weeks ago, and here's another set. I did pick this one up in the end. It's the 5 Doctors History of the Dalek set, featuring the Richard Herndl, William Hartnell replacement from the story, and the facsimile of the Dalek, the one Dalek that appeared in the story. As I said, it follows the standard look of these now. It's got a lovely night. I do like the new packaging with the new anniversary logo. It looks much brighter and more attractive than it did before. And on the back, as on the previous sets, you've got a little bit of detail about the 5 Doctors and a little bit of detail behind the scenes. So yeah, I picked that one up as well because it was there, and I thought there was a couple of them there, so I thought, well, I might as well have one. And I must admit, I did think about bunging it on eBay, but I don't really approve of scalpers. And as I said before, in the past I have picked up a couple of these things and I put them on eBay at 99p. I don't put them up for like 50 quid, double the price. I'm quite happy to sell them for whatever they go. And usually, to be fair, they've covered their cost and maybe made a couple of pounds profit. But there seem to be plenty of these around at the moment, and they are on eBay and they're not going for massive prices. So I'll probably keep it. So that's the Doctor. Marvel things, I picked this up today. I was out and about today and popped into Home Bargains. It's a big new Home Bargain store that's open quite near me. I've noticed in the past, fairly recently, that they've been selling some of the Eagle Moss Marvel figures. Of course, Eagle Moss sadly went bust last year. They were the makers of those fantastic Doctor Who collectibles, which you've seen. I've got them here in the house and all sorts of places. There's so many of them. They did Marvel ones as well. Although I didn't subscribe to that collection, I did pick up some of the ones of the more important main characters. And they had a few of them in their boxes for only $3.99 in Home Bargains today. And I picked up an Iron Man. I'm not sure which. I mean, the boxes unfortunately don't give you any detail about which version of Iron Man this is. This is an Iron Man who appeared in one of the Marvel films, probably Age of Ultron, I'm thinking, but there's nothing on the box anywhere to identify what it was, presumably because B&M just got hold of the figures, and if there are any magazines and things, they were not included or chucked away. I will actually open this today. There were a few others in there. There was a couple of these. There were a couple of Black Widows. There was some guy in a suit. There were a couple of sort of alien-y things. I think it might have been one of Thanos' henchmen. I don't tend to buy those. That was, I think, the problem for me with the Marvel collection, the movie collection, that you would get the main figures, then you get all these various not very interesting supporting characters. Not that they weren't interesting in the films, but I didn't really want models of, some obscure Asgardian or some agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever. But the main figures, I think, were always very nice. And indeed, so is this. It's a lovely paint job. Yeah, actually, it says in the back, Iron Man Mark 33, apparently. Okay, it doesn't. None the wiser. But it's a nice figure. Really nicely painted. The paint jobs and these things are always good. The modelling, Eagle Moss were a drain on my resources at times, but they did do some really nice figures. I don't suppose we'll see this sort of detail on these things again. It's beautifully put together. Really nice. Really nice. Oh, actually, there's a little leaflet in here. Yeah, this is number 530, a certificate of authenticity. Well, I won't be too worried about that. So that's Iron Man. And the final thing which I picked up, I've been umming and ahhing about these for a while. As I mentioned about Home Bargains, B&M Bargains do the Doctor Who figures. They also do a range of other figures, of other franchises, Jurassic Park and DC figures, a lot of Marvel figures. And the last few weeks, last couple of months, in fact, 6 weeks or so, I've noticed that they've had these vinyl diorama figures, the gallery diorama sets. And I picked up this one. This is Doctor Strange, as played by Benedict Cumberbatch in Multiverse of Madness, only from last year. These sets, I think when they came out, they were 60, 70 quid, something like that. B&M have got hold of some, and they've also got, I've looked at them, I've picked them up, but I've sort of cradled them and thought, should I, shouldn't I? I never have. And they got Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hawkeye. I've noticed one for the Wasp, Spider-Man, of course. They are 30 quid, 29.99. So, and I've sort of not pulled the trigger on one of these previously, because to be honest, I've got so many collectibles on the place, so many things that can't be displayed, even though I have the cinema room now. Space is still at a bit of a premium. And I thought, well, 30 quid, do I need to spend that? But I pulled the trigger on the weekend and got this one. So it's, as you can see, it is a lovely thing. I'll show you the back. The back is a proper illustration of the figure itself. I mean, the likeness is fantastic. And that's what I like about these, these figures. They do resemble the cinema characters. I mean, I've seen other Doctor Strange figures, which obviously are based on the comic version. But, I was really taken. I like the very dramatic, sort of striking pose of Doctor Strange standing in front of one of his flaming portals. So I think that's a really nice figure. I haven't taken out of the box yet. Again, I don't know if I'm going to. I may put it on display like that. I don't know if it's going to be like a collectible in the future, PVC diorama. But I was very pleased to get that. I thought, well, why not? For God's sake, you only live once. Winter's coming on. I make all sorts of excuses in my head why I should spend money on things. Those voices, those things always win out in the end. That's a lovely little figure. Well, I say little figure, it's actually quite a big figure. But it's really nice. I'm pleased I've got it. I do like the other ones. And I was sort of waiting to see, well, you know what these shops are like, B&M. Very often if things don't sell, they bring the prices down. I shall be slightly annoyed. Sorry, a little mark on there. I will be slightly annoyed if they're 15 quid next week. But, hey, that's the chances you take. This is the thing with the Doctor Who figures. If you a Doctor Who fan, you've been to B&M looking for these things, you'll have seen some of the sets that don't sell, the sort of character figures of various Doctors and Companions. They don't really sell very well, and now they're down to £7.99. These might come down in price because, even though they're cheaper than they were when they came out, they're still a sort of top range in terms of price. So I can see them coming down to £19.99 at some point, and I may be faced with a dilemma again. Anyway, that's beside the point. Right, I think that's it really. So that's my collectibles for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed watching this video. I do pick up these things as and when. But as I say, it's usually Blu-rays and 4Ks and comics. I've had a couple of comic things as well, but I didn't bring them up because I wanted to focus on the collectibles. So yes, hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, as I said, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll be back soon for some more content. Until I do, yes, keep checking the stuff.